Imagine that you are standing at an intersection of technology, social media, and customer service. And of course, most of us are already standing at that intersection. But what if we really understood how to actually blend those three things with the perfect strategy? Do you think that you might be able to create a multi-million-dollar business? Well, our next speaker has done that 5 times. So please help me welcome, to teach us the art of the experience, the business strategist, best-selling author, and the provocative idea of hugging your haters. So help me welcome Jay Baer. Thank you so much.
Love, exciting and new. Come aboard.
Love Boat theme. How often do you get the Love Boat theme at a conference? Never. Love Boat theme. It doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter whether you're selling software or sandwiches or vehicles or hospitality. At some point, some of your customers are going to have feedback. Some of your customers are going to have feedback like this, which is an actual review on TripAdvisor.com for a Chicago area outlet of the famous hamburger chain White Castle. Nobody here from White Castle, right? Good. Here's how this review begins.
Our Midwestern journey, I heard what appeared to be hyperventilating coming from the back seat of our rental car. My 16-year-old could not believe he was actually seeing a real live bona fide White Castle, and he begged us to go in. Now, since we were pretty early for our flight, we decided to go ahead and let him have his Harold and Kumar go to White Castle moment, a movie which he asserts is the greatest stoner film ever. Stoner film, like there's a category for it at Sundance.
Stoner film, like there's a category for it at Sundance. That sounds like a pretty positive review. But there's more.
I cannot believe that these people actually exchange real American currency for this square-steamed mixture of rodent feces and sawdust on a tiny bun. This is the bastard love child of a 7-Eleven microwavable meat patty and the entrail drippings of roadkill left to fester on Midwestern highways in the hot July sun. Happily, it's as thin as a Post-it note so as not to avoid inadvertently engaging your gag reflex.
3 observations. First, this review took a decided negative turn. Second, my company and I do lots of consulting around customer experience, customer service, and digital marketing. And as a general principle, when the review says the word roadkill, it's almost always negative. Almost always. And third, and this is amazing. This, my friends, is a 2-star review. I desperately want to know what this person's 1-star reviews sound like, because this is grading on a curve or something along those lines. Now, the natural reaction, of course, the reaction that we would all have, is to ignore this, to dismiss it as the rantings and the ravings of a crazy person. But that is actually the worst possible thing you could do. Earlier this year, I conducted a massive project with Edison Research. We surveyed thousands and thousands of Americans to discover who complains, where they complain, why they complain, and how. And what we discovered was simply remarkable. We found that not answering complaints decreases customer advocacy always. Always. It takes a bad situation and makes it profoundly worse, because no answer is an answer, isn't it? No answer is an answer that says, we don't care about you very much as a customer. Conversely, we found that when you answer a complaint, it increases customer advocacy always. It takes a bad situation and makes it better. So what we've discovered is that the people who complain about your business, the haters, they are not your problem. Ignoring them is. Ignoring them is. So what I want you to do is to embrace complaints and use them to keep your customers and make your business better. What I want you to do is hug your haters. And what that requires is for you to answer every complaint in every channel, every time. Every complaint in every channel, every time. Does that require substantial effort? It does. Does it require time and a commitment and resources? All of those are true. But it is absolutely worth it for two reasons. Now, let me just say first that I'm not suggesting that the customer is always right. I think we all know that that's not the case. But I am suggesting that the customer is always heard. The first reason to hug your haters is that it helps you keep your customers. Everybody in this room knows, everybody in every room knows that it makes financial sense to hold on to the customers that you've already paid to acquire. We all know that to be true. It's business 101. But yet we do not manage businesses based on that principle. Globally, each year we spend approximately $500 billion on marketing and $9 billion a year on customer service. Despite the fact that research shows that just a 5% increase in customer retention can yield a 25 to 85% increase in profits. We know we should work harder to keep our customers, but we don't actually follow through on that principle. One company that does, however, is right here in this room, Discover. Not long ago, led by Dan Gingiss, who's in the room, Discover made a commitment to be the best and most responsive financial services company in the world in the area of customer service and customer experience. They decided to hug their haters. They decided to answer every complaint in every channel, every time, as fast as they possibly can. And it works. Not long ago, a guy by the name of Rob Especial was on vacation, came back, checked his email, and had several different offers for the Discover card in his email box. He thought that was unusual and disturbing. So he took to Twitter, as people do, and here's what he said.
I haven't checked my email in a few days, and there are 3 offers for the Discover card: persistence or lack of coordination.
Now, it would be easy to just ignore that, but that's not what Discover Card does. That's not what Discover Card believes. They answered back within 6 minutes.
At Rob Special, we must be excited to have you apply. DM with your full name and full address if you would like the mailings to stop. Amy.
Get back to him right away, apologized, gave him a resolution, and made it personal. Used her name. Had a real impact on Rob.
At Discover, kudos for the prompt response time. Okay, I'll bite. Mostly because of your response, Amy. Hashtag great service.
Hashtag great service. Okay, I'll bite. Here's somebody who went to Twitter for the only reason he went to Twitter was to complain, and he ended up getting a credit card as a result. That is pretty fantastic customer service. And that's what we would call this historically, right? We would say this is customer service. But is it? Is it customer service, or is it one-to-one marketing? Because I believe, as many of you probably believe, that customer service is the new marketing. It is the differentiator between good brands and great brands. It is increasingly the way that consumers will shop. And this isn't just true in a consumer context, it's perhaps even more true in business to business, where research from Walker says that by 2020, which is just around the corner, customer experience will be more important than price. Customer experience will be more important than price. That's a sea change. A sea change. Now, the second reason that you should hug your haters is that it makes you a better company. It fundamentally makes you a better company if you take the time to listen. Haters are the ultimate canary in the coal mine. They are the early warning detection system for your business. 95% of dissatisfied customers never take the time to complain. They just leave. They just fade away. Poof. They're gone for good. At least haters are taking their time to help make your business better. What haters really are is the unelected representatives of the meh in the middle. The larger group of dissatisfied customers who are just like, meh, I didn't like it. I'm not coming back. Maybe they'll tell a couple friends, but they're certainly not going to go out of their way to leave you a negative review or communicate with you on Facebook or anything like that. They just fade away. And you can find the river of insights that these haters are providing just by paying attention, by doing a little bit of work. I mean, here's how simple it is. Before this presentation, I went to Amazon.com and I grabbed the 10 most recent reviews from my previous book, Utility, and I just copied and pasted the text of those reviews into a Word file. And then I copied the whole thing to a site called Wordle.net, which is free, and it made this word cloud. That whole process took me like 4 minutes. And in that word cloud, I can see in the middle there to the left that new examples is a large theme that comes out of the reviews that people have left about the book. A lot of people like that book because there are new and different examples. The next time I write a book, the next time I'm on stage, I'm always thinking, how can I have new examples, different examples? One organization that is particularly extraordinary at how they take haters and use that feedback to improve operations is Le Pain Quotidien. They're a chain of about 200 cafes based in Belgium, many locations in the US, primarily on the East Coast. And when they get a negative review, typically it would be for them on Yelp or TripAdvisor or similar, their head of customer experience, Erin Pepper, does a smart thing. She answers them back in public and says, "We're terribly sorry. Thank you for the feedback. We're going to use this to make our stores better. We'll make sure the local store manager understands the comments that you've had," etc. The regular standard public response playbook. Perfect. But it's what she does next that's so unusual. In many cases, she waits 2 or 3 hours, and then she sends them another message in private. Almost all of these review sites, of course, have a private messaging function on the back end. And so she sends them a private message and says, "Dear sir, you know, you are a discerning customer. You see things that other customers simply do not see. You, sir, have a gift. What we'd like you to do, with your permission, of course, is I'd like to send you 2 gift cards per month. And I'd like you to use those gift cards to visit a different Le Pain Quotidien location at your convenience. And each time you do so, please click this link and fill out this detailed survey of your experiences. Because you have the ability to perceive and understand things that most of our customers simply would ignore. We need your kind of insights." And it totally works. It totally works. She has more than 100 of these secret shoppers working for her on a month-to-month basis. Detailed secret shopper program. She successfully took hate and turned it into help. I think that's pretty fantastic. Haters are not your problem. Ignoring them is. I want to talk to you a little bit more about haters and who they are. I want to introduce to you the Hatrix. The Hatrix, which is the analysis of who complains and why and where and under what circumstances. In my research, I found that there's actually two main types of haters. The first group we call the offstage haters. And offstage haters are called offstage haters because they complain in private legacy channels like telephone and email. These offstage haters are slightly older, they're less mobile and social media technology savvy, and they complain a little bit less frequently over the course of a year. The second group of haters are the onstage haters. And the onstage haters are called onstage haters because they complain in public on review sites, on discussion boards and forums, and in social media. These onstage haters are slightly younger, certainly more mobile and social media savvy, and they complain more often on average. But the biggest difference between offstage haters and onstage haters is what they expect of you. Offstage haters want an answer. They want an answer. And the same thing is true of you when you use those channels. If you call a business, you email a business, you expect to hear back. In fact, my research found that 9 out of 10 offstage haters expect a reply, including this guy who left an interesting voicemail on the Jimmy Dean sausage hotline.
Randy Taylor, I don't know where you people come from. I don't know if you test your products, your quantity of your product. Your products are very delicious. Love your sausage for 30-something years, but I can't take and feed a family of 5 on a little 12-ounce roll of sausage. I don't mind paying you more money for your 16-ounce roll of sausage, but you don't have it anymore. You've got a 12-ounce roll, and you got 3 men that weigh over 200 pounds apiece, a woman that's a little plump Scotch girl, and a daughter who's 13, and you're going to try to take a 12-ounce roll of sausage and a couple of dozen eggs and feed that. It ain't going to work, and I'm not going to purchase your product anymore or ever again. And as far as your 16-ounce in maple and sage, I don't eat that. I'm not from the north. I'm a Texas man. Jimmy Dean sausage is for southern people to eat with the breakfast, with the fried eggs and the T-bone steaks. And I can't see going to a little 12-ounce package to feed 4, 5, 6 people. And I'm not going to buy 2 of those 12-ounce packages just because you want to downsize and charge the same goddamn price. I'd sure like a reply, and I'd sure like you to go back to your 16-ounce package on your regular sausage, because I'm not going to buy it otherwise ever again. I'll just have my own damn sausage made like I used to 30-something years ago. It's not tasty as yours is, but it'll work. Goodbye.
Let's hear it for Randy Taylor. A man, God, a man with a serious sausage problem. That guy's got sausage issues. Several different categories of issues. He is fantastic. Now, we have to continue hugging those offstage haters because A, as I mentioned, they expect you to get back to them, and B, just by sheer volume. Today, as we sit here, 2/3 of all complaints are offstage, in private, phone, and email. But that balance is changing very, very quickly. In the UK, social media complaints about business increased 800% from January of 2014 until May of this year. 800%. Think about that. But it makes sense because it is, of course, substantially faster, easier, less friction to complain about anything on a mobile app as opposed to calling or emailing or writing a letter for that matter. And let's think about when today's young consumers become the dominant purchasing cohort. What will be the fate of offstage interaction at that point? I have 2 children, 17 and 14, shown here. My son, it was his birthday recently. Those are his birthday shoes. And they both have smartphones, as you might expect. But seriously, is there any product in the history of products that is more poorly named than the smartphone? Because the only thing on that device that they have literally no interest in is the phone. No interest at all. And if you've ever had a teenage boy talk on the phone, it's terrible. It's terrible in every way. Here's how it goes. Hey, Ethan, talk to your grandma. First, you get an eye roll. Okay, that's standard equipment. And then here's how it goes. Like, hello? Fine. 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 Okay. And hands the phone back, right? It's like a conversational train wreck in slow motion. It is painful. It is painful. Yet, he and his sister will send 300 text messages a day, no exaggeration, and they use Snapchat, the way I eat bacon, greedily and lustily. I do not believe that at some point they'll be in their mid-20s and professionals and working for companies like yours and say, hey, you know what I've been overlooking? The splendors of the telephone. I was totally missing that trend. Like, they're not going to have this awakening to the magic of telephonic communication when they have completely ignored it for their entire lives. So what happens when everybody in business grew up not using the phone, and to some degree, email? They never use email. They hate it. The only time they check email is to check receipts for things they bought online. That's it. Purchasing confirmations. That's the entire use of email for them. Onstage haters are going to become the majority of how we interact with customers. And that changes the rules for everybody, because onstage haters have totally different needs than offstage haters. Onstage haters want an audience. They want an audience. That's why so many of the tweets and Facebook messages and Yelp reviews and TripAdvisor reviews and every other kind of reviews are so exaggerated, because they are fighting for attention the same way that our businesses are fighting for attention in those same spaces. Here's an example. There's a company called Wink Frozen Desserts shown here. They sell a kind of frozen dessert concoction. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, it's everything free. It's kind of like, it's like a vegan Cool Whip, I think, is probably the easiest way to describe their product. It's not for everybody, and there's a gentleman whose Facebook account name is Random Musings of a Barefoot Democrat Libertarian Hippie, which gives you some clue that perhaps he is, in fact, an onstage hater. He is not a fan of the Wink Frozen Desserts. He posted this to their Facebook wall recently.
I just bought this hoping to be able to enjoy some ice cream while on a low-carb diet. Too bad this ice cream, I put it in quotes because it tastes nothing like ice cream other than being cold, is absolutely disgusting. I got the cocoa dough version, and literally licking the freezer burnt ice shavings from inside the freezer would probably taste better than this. It's definitely going back to the store for a refund.
So 2 reactions to this one. First, I'm sort of like, this guy seems kind of like a jerk in general. Second, he's like, I'm taking this back to the store for a refund. And I thought, when I read this, I'm like, is that a thing? Is that a thing that people do? Because I have bought a lot of things in a grocery store in my day. I think that's self-evident. And I've had some things that I bought in a grocery store that I didn't like, but I never thought, like, I don't like this, I'm taking it back. I mean, if there was a mouse in it or something, sure, but like, can you just return stuff to a store because you didn't like the taste of it? That seems a little bit egregious. So again, when you get customer feedback like this, when you get this kind of onstage hater, the natural reaction, of course, as a human being, is to be like, look, why are you attacking me, bro? And just walk away. Okay, but that's not what Wink did. Here's what their chief marketing officer posted as a reply.
Hey, we're sorry to hear this, Random Musings. While Wink is definitely not ice cream, we do aim for an ice cream-like experience. The creator of Wink is a 25-year-old named Gabe, who has celiac disease and dairy intolerance. We do recommend letting your pint sit out for a few minutes before you dig in. If the store you purchased Wink in gives you trouble with the refund, please let us know. While we hope that everyone will love and enjoy Wink as much as we do, we realize that not everyone will. If we can help, please send us an email to info@winkfrozendesserts.com. And thanks for giving Wink a try.
Oh, what a perfect response, right? Makes it human, informational, gives a little backstory, doesn't take it personally. Really, really exceptionally well done by the guys from Wink. Now, how we handle these onstage haters, and the fact that we do handle onstage haters, is incredibly important, because fewer than half of all onstage haters, of the people who complain in public, even expect a reply. They're just complaining to their friends. They don't necessarily even expect you to answer. So when you do answer the way Wink did, the way Discover did, you know what it does? It blows their minds and wins their hearts. The customer advocacy bump when you answer an on-stage complaint is as much as 30%. 30%. Because they don't expect it. One of the best companies in the entire world at handling on-stage public interactions is KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. KLM has a program where they answer 60,000 tweets per week, 24 hours a day, and they answer in 14 different languages. If you send them a tweet at 3 in the morning in Turkish, they will answer you back in just a few minutes in Turkish. And this program did not start because of some kind of internal cultural epiphany. It started because of a volcano. Some of you may remember 5 years ago the giant volcanic eruption in Iceland, and it created this huge ash cloud that covered all of Europe. And every flight in continental Europe was grounded. KLM, based in Amsterdam, is a huge hub for Europe. None of their passengers could fly. They had tens of thousands of stranded passengers who were all freaking out. Twitter, Facebook, email, phone, skywriting, every possible means of communication. So they said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about this? So they called a team meeting. They said, we got two options. We can either pretend this isn't happening, and we can answer some people in some channels some of the time. Or we can answer everybody in every channel as quickly as we can. But if we do that, let's remember, we can never go back. We can never go back. Because you can't very well say to your customers, great customer service during times of volcano. You can't do that, right? You can't have a volcano special. You either have to do it and then keep doing it, or never do it. And so they decided, look, let's just do it. They had all these people who couldn't do their jobs anyway. Pilots couldn't fly, flight attendants couldn't attend, baggage handlers couldn't handle. So they just said, well, okay, here. They got a bunch of card tables and some laptops and said, start typing. And so they did. This program is so successful now and so ingrained in the culture of the organization that if you go to their Facebook page or their Twitter page, the background image actually shows how long you should expect to wait to receive a reply. And they update that every 5 minutes. So when I grab that screenshot, if you tweeted them, they'll get back to you in approximately 16 minutes. And while this is, in fact, quote unquote, customer service, this group, the social media customer interaction group, last year sold $30 million worth of airline tickets as a secondary priority. Customer service is the new marketing. Haters are not your problem. Ignoring them is. And that is very much true on ratings and review sites. Everybody in this room has one or maybe more ratings and review sites that makes a real difference in their business. Yelp, TripAdvisor, Spiceworks if you're in software, G2 Crowd, TrustRadius, ApartmentRatings.com, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's one in plastic surgery called RealSelf.com that has 1,200 plastic surgeons participating. You can go online and rate your butt lift, 0 to 5 stars. This is a 4.2 right here for sure, at least 4.2. And I know we have sort of a love-hate relationship with reviews, don't we? I think this sign epitomizes it perfectly. Come in and try the worst rum and coke that one guy on Yelp ever had in his life. I want to make t-shirts out of that. That is so great. So great. Okay, gets it. Fantastic. But I've heard this all the time, especially on the consulting side of our practice. when we work with bigger companies, even big companies which you'd think are immune to this now at scale, they're not. People are like, if it wasn't for Yelp and Facebook and Twitter, we wouldn't have all these problems. And that's fundamentally not the case. People have been talking shit about you for decades. You just didn't have a way to find it, right? All this is a magnifying glass, right? And we got to quit blaming the messenger, folks. When I was a kid, one of my jobs in high school was at TG&Y. And TG&Y is a long defunct, but at the time, small department stores in little towns in the West. I grew up in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. America's home of the London Bridge, for you trivia fans. So I was working at TG&Y as a stock boy, and one of my jobs on occasion was to be in charge of returns. So a guy comes in one day, and he wants to return some underwear. And yes, this underwear was not new in package. This underwear had been around the block a couple times. And I thought that was curious, for sure. And I was not equipped at the tender age of 16 to know exactly how to handle this particular hater scenario. So I sought out my manager, whose name was, and I swear this is true, the best department store manager name of all time. His name was Mr. Big. So I went to see Mr. Big. It was like right out of The Simpsons, right? I said, Mr. Big, there's a guy here who wants to return used underwear. And he said, well, what's his problem with it? And I said, well, he says it's the wrong size. And Mr. Big said, well, was that before or after he wore it? Which I thought was a super good question. And I said, well, hey, so we're not going to do this, right? This is crazy. And Mr. Big said, no, we are. The policy is all returns are accepted, no questions asked. And I didn't totally understand that at the time. And I don't totally understand it now, but I think many of us are familiar with that kind of policy. Many of you probably have that kind of policy in your business. But the one thing, looking back on it, the one thing that Mr. Big didn't do is he didn't say, you know what, if it wasn't for all these cars bringing customers back to the store, we wouldn't have this underwear returns problem. But when we blame technology for negativity, that's exactly what you're doing. When we blame Facebook, when we blame Yelp, when we blame TripAdvisor, when we blame Twitter, we are putting the onus on the conveyance mechanism as opposed to the actual customer interaction itself. Some of your customers suck. Thank you. No, some of your customers suck. Some of your customers sucked 50 years ago, and some of your customers will suck 50 years from now. And technology does not change that at all. Technology has no impact on morality. None. This is just the way it's going to be. So we can either embrace it or we can run from it. But from a business standpoint, as a consultant, I really recommend the former, because 80% of Americans trust online reviews as much as they trust recommendations from friends and family members, despite the fact that in almost every case, those reviews are written by total strangers. And if that same kind of interaction occurred in the real world, it would be a very different set of circumstances. So let's imagine that you're going to the grocery store, maybe Kroger around here. So you're going to Kroger, right? And you're kind of getting to the front door, and there's a guy off to the side, and he's got a trench coat and a hat, and you're walking by. He's like, psst, hey, buddy, come over here. And you're like, what? Me? He's like, yeah, come here. You're like, Walker, what? Listen, when you get in there, try the creamed corn. What? Try the creamed corn. It's amazing, right? If that happened in the real world, you would call the cops. You would literally call cops. But online, you're like, thanks for the creamed corn recommendation. Positive review, thumb up, 5 stars, be my friend. Like, it's a totally different world online. Totally different. On-stage haters, off-stage haters, totally different psychology. And in addition to the fact that we all believe reviews, it actually has another impact on our business, especially if you care about the internet and search engines and traffic. I did a presentation recently for the property management industry, and I just pulled this screenshot. I did a search for a company called the Howard Management Group, which is in Los Angeles. This is the actual Google search results page for this company. Okay, that one is the Google reviews. You can see how enormous that is. This is their Yelp reviews, this is their Yahoo Local reviews, and this is their yellowpages.com reviews. The Google page that Google serves up when you search for their name is overwhelmingly dominated by what consumers think of them in the form of reviews on different sites. That is an existential opportunity or problem for companies. So how do we handle ratings and reviews? We answer every complaint in every channel, every time. My friend Debbie owns a business called Fresh Brothers. It's a chain of 14 pizza restaurants in Southern California, and she's particularly good at ratings and reviews. Yelp is the one that probably drives the most awareness and the most business for her. When she gets a positive Yelp review, she answers back in public and says, "Thanks so much. We're so delighted you had a great experience at Fresh Brothers. Can we send you a gift card so you can come back and bring some friends?" And when she gets a negative review, she says, "We're terribly sorry that we've disappointed you. We're going to use your feedback to make our operations better. Would I be able to send you a gift card so you can give us another try?" And you're probably sitting there thinking the exact same thing that I was thinking when I talked to her, which was, "Hey, Debbie, how much money are you spending on gift cards?" Right? So I asked her that question. I said, "Hey, Debbie, how much money are you spending on gift cards?" She said, "Well, here's the thing. Number one, we keep track of it in a database. So, we know if people are sort of, leaving reviews every Tuesday to try and get a gift card. But number two," she said, "who cares? Who cares? If it brings people back into the restaurant, and if it changes the way people who are unhappy about their experience feel about us, giving them a gift card is an incredibly small price to pay for that kind of impact." And she's exactly right. It's an incredibly small price to pay. Why wouldn't you do that? One of the things that some organizations try to do in the ratings and reviews business is to suppress negative reviews. So if you don't have any ones, then your average rating goes up, and average rating drives business, and everybody knows that. Don't do that, though. Don't try to suppress negativity. Number one, it robs you of the opportunity to be a better business, but number two, it blows up in your face. The Union Street Guest House is a bed and breakfast in upstate New York. They had a policy which said that if you or anybody associated with your booking, they do lots of weddings and bar mitzvahs and things like that, if you or anybody associated with your group leaves a negative review on any site, they will charge your credit card $500. $500 for every negative review. It was on their website. They actually tried to charge people for this. The New York Post got wind of this, and they wrote an article in the paper and also on their website and sort of blew the doors off of this. And as you might expect, the results were not favorable for the Union Street Guest House. They got some 3,100 one-star reviews in about an hour for people after reading the article. Now, Yelp and TripAdvisor knew those were fraudulent, so they went in, as they always do, and removed those. But I think the lesson is clear. Do not try to do some kind of crazy engineering trick, either online or offline, to suppress reviews. And here's the thing. Negative reviews aren't necessarily a bad thing. Because if you only have 4 and 5 star reviews, people actually don't believe it. There's a lot of research on this that shows that having a little bit of negativity actually improves the veracity and the believability of all the reviews. So don't try and scrub the 1 stars, just try and get more 4 and 5 stars, which is why you're here at the amazing Secret Service Summit. A couple of tips about how to hug your haters. The first tip I want to share with you is that we have to recognize these haters and then empathize with these haters. This is especially true for the onstage haters, because in many cases, these onstage haters are twice angry. They're twice angry because whatever you did wrong to make them upset in the first place happened, and then in many cases, they tried to call you or they tried to email you, and they weren't happy with how that interaction went, so they decided to raise the stakes and take it public. And now they don't want an answer, now they want an audience. It happens all the time. offstage haters become onstage haters. My friend Chris Rund is a cat-owning graphic designer, and this is not his cat, that is a stock photo of a cat. Chris has a cat, and his cat throws up, as cats do, and he was tired of his cat vomit staining his light carpets. So he went to Meow Mix, which is the maker of his brand of cat food, and sent them an email. Didn't hear back, so he became an onstage hater. He raised the stakes. He took it public. He went to their Facebook page, and here's what he wrote.
Dear Meow Mix, cats throw up pretty regularly. I figured you guys would realize this, being cat experts and all. With this in mind, why do you insist on putting dyes in your products that cause ruined carpets, furniture, etc.? You know, when Kitty spews her half-digested meow yuck all over the place. Seriously, my cat doesn't give a shit what your product looks like in a bowl, and neither do I. What would be helpful and appreciated by legions of cat owners, I'm guessing, is if you take the worthless dyes out of your product and save us all a lot of frustration and ruined fabrics.
So Chris is upset, and I think the need for empathy in this situation is clear, but Meow Mix didn't get that message. Here's what they wrote back as a reply on their Facebook page.
Hi, Chris. All Meow Mix products are made with nutritious quality ingredients that meet the standards and specifications of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, Association of American Feed Control Officials, AAFCO, and the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. If you have further questions, our Consumer Affairs team will be able to help you. You can reach them at 1-877-MEOWMIX, 877-636-9649, or by visiting meowmix.com and clicking the Contact Us link at the bottom of the page.
That is not empathy. That is copy and paste, okay? We've got to be better than that, right? We have to do better than that. Here's somebody who's already twice upset, and they just took a situation and probably made it even worse. Second tip I want to share with you is Jay Baer's rule of reply only twice. Never, ever, ever reply more than twice to a customer in a public online setting. Doesn't matter if that customer is happy or irate, never answer more than twice, because if they're happy, you're just wasting time. They already love you. And if they're irate, nothing good will come of it. You will get sucked down into a vortex of negativity that is counterproductive. Somebody has a complaint, you answer it. If they come back with another complaint or they're even more irate, you give them a second option. We'd love to talk to you about this offline so we can get some additional details about your circumstances. And if they come back a third time, you just walk away. Just walk away. Because you have done what you set out to do. You have hugged your hater. You have given it 2 attempts to change that person's mind, or at least make their situation better. But more importantly, you have shown everybody else who's ever going to see this interaction online what you're made of and what your company stands for. Because, my friends, customer service today is a spectator sport. Yes, you want to make the original customer happy, but more importantly, you are displaying your value system for the entire world forever. My third tip is to be fast. To be fast everywhere. Certainly in social media. 40% of social media haters expect a response within 1 hour. Within 1 hour. The average amount of time it takes businesses to reply in social media today is 5 hours. So closing that gap needs to be a priority for us all, as it has been for Discover. But it's not just social media where we have to be faster. We have to be faster everywhere. We certainly have to be faster in email. Today, businesses take an average of 44 hours to reply to an email. That's almost 2 days. And amazingly, that's 8 hours slower than it was a year ago. 8 hours slower. So what happens is somebody like Chris sends an email about cat food. It takes them 2 days to get back. He assumes that day 1.5 that they're not going to get back. So he goes on Facebook and makes a big hullabaloo out of it. He takes something that could have been handled privately and turns it into a public spectacle because they were too slow at email. It's not a murder, it's a suicide. You can fix that. And we've got to be faster on the phone. Speed of resolution is the most important factor, more so than satisfaction, than accuracy, the most important factor when it comes to telephone customer service satisfaction. Why? Because nobody likes smooth jazz enough to wait on hold. The customer service industry is keeping Kenny G in business, ladies and gentlemen. We got to fix this. We got to fix it. One of the other things that we can do to reduce time and answer faster is to try and use our communities, our customer communities, to answer as many questions as possible. You see this as a huge trend all around online customer service, using customer communities to answer as many questions as possible, because the customers will typically do that faster than you can do it as a business. So think about that. Can you use software in a customer community online to scrape the top layer of easy questions off and allow the customers to answer themselves? Best possible scenario. Now it is your turn. There's tremendous research that shows that in a presentation like this, if you spend just 2 minutes talking about what you've learned, it takes these ideas and makes them yours. Instead of being my ideas, they become your ideas. And it allows you to implement these themes in your business more quickly, more accurately, and with more impact. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Turn to your left or to your right. You've only got 2 choices here, so make it count, ladies and gentlemen. You got 2 minutes to discuss what you've heard so far. Now listen, when I put up my hand, that means it's time to be quiet. You put up your hands as well, like this, and we will reconvene. Ready? 2 minutes, go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much. So I wrote a whole book about this. The book is also called Hug Your Haters. The book is out first part of next year. Lots of other stories and a ton of data, lots more research, step by step, exactly how to handle offstage haters and onstage haters. There's actually a poster of the Hatrix that's in the book, so you can take it out and put it on your wall. It talks about differences between different haters. Super excited to let you know that everybody is going to have a chance to get a copy of the book, courtesy of John and the Secret Service Summit. They're going to tell you more about that a little bit later when I'm finished, but I'm really delighted about that. So thank you to those guys very much. Cheers. Haters are not your problem. Ignoring them is. But one of the biggest challenges we have with haters is that they can only see what they can see. They only know what they can see. In many cases, there are relevant, logical, meaningful, extenuating circumstances why you fell short in that particular scenario. Debbie from Fresh Brothers Pizza told me that her number one location, her best performing location, has the worst reviews. Why? Because they're always super busy. Super busy. Pizza comes out slow, driver gets delayed, run out of tomatoes. Her number one store gets the worst reviews. But if you're just in there for a pizza, you don't know any of that backstory. You don't know it's how busy they are. You don't know it's her number one store, and you don't care. Haters can only see what's in front of their face. They don't know that your office manager quit. They don't know that Sheila is on vacation. They don't know all the other relevant reasons why you might be less than perfect today. I had this happen to me a few years ago. In 2001, I was living in Phoenix, and my best friend since second grade married my wife's sister. So my best friend became my brother-in-law, which I totally recommend if you can work that out. It's kind of a social engineering feat, but I totally recommend it. It's awesome. So this is before any of us had kids, and so the four of us spent all of our time together. It was fantastic. It was like a sitcom. Extraordinary. So all of us were 32 at the time, and my best friend and brother-in-law, Al, was diagnosed with brain cancer. And he had a series of invasive brain surgeries, and as part of that, he lost, let's go back one. And as part of that, he lost the power of speech. So he couldn't speak. In 2001, I had season tickets for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and that was the year that the Diamondbacks actually went to the World Series and played in the World Series against the hated New York Yankees. So I got tickets to Game 7 of the World Series, and there was only one person I was going to take with me, and I was going to take Al, because, the brain cancer thing, but even more importantly, huge Yankees fan. He grew up in Yonkers, New York, and so I for sure was going to take him. So a couple weeks prior to this, our other friend Pete, who had the tickets in his name, somehow lost all of the playoff tickets. And I don't really know how that happens. What, a dog ate the playoff tickets? I really am still, to this day, confused as to the circumstances. But the byproduct of that snafu was that each time we went to a playoff game, we'd have to go to the box office and give them our ID. They look up our account and say, oh, okay. And they'd print us out tickets right there. And so you would just get the regular tickets, like the dot matrix tickets printed, as opposed to the big souvenir hologrammed, World Series suitable for framing tickets. No big deal. We go to Game 7, and I should remind you that this World Series took place days after 9/11. Days after 9/11. So the security for this World Series, especially for Game 7, was like nothing we've ever seen in sports before or since. CIA, FBI, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, local police, sheriff, everything, all kinds of plainclothes folks, helicopters. They were so serious about security that they actually welded shut all the manhole covers in a mile radius around the stadium. It was no joke. So we go to the game. We get into the game fine, Game 7, we're in our seats. Bottom of the first inning, Al pantomimes to me that he's going for a cigarette. I know, not terribly socially acceptable now, but back then, and also, look, if you've got brain cancer, a cigarette is not the biggest issue you've got. Smoke 2 at a time, whatever you want to do, right? Just, smoke them all, Johnny. So he goes out to the left field kind of smoking portico out there, So he trots on down, and I'm watching the game, and I'm watching the game, and I'm watching the game, and he doesn't come back. I'm like, what is the deal? I need to go on a hunt. So I go out there and go find him. So I walk out of the door to the smoking patio, and he's up against a wall in handcuffs. And there's a security guard like, barking at him. So I rush over, like, what's the meaning of this? Da, 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 da. And he's like, hey, are you with him? I'm like, yeah, boom, puts me in handcuffs. So now the two of us are sitting there up against a brick wall in handcuffs during Game 7 of the World Series, and a security guard who doesn't typically work for Diamondbacks, he was brought in special because of the security concerns around 9/11, has decided that because our tickets look different than the regular tickets, that these must be fake tickets and we're planning some kind of terrorist cell, and it's a little suspicious that this guy won't talk. Little suspicious that this guy refuses to talk. So there we sat. Actually, there we stood. And an inning passed, and then 2 innings, and 3 innings. And eventually, after 5 innings of the World Series, we were able to make contact with the Diamondbacks official who came over, looked one look at our tickets. Oh yeah, these guys are fine. So they unhandcuff us, send us on our way. Certainly no apology, that's for sure. Just said, get back in there. So spent most of the World Series, Game 7, in handcuffs. But we did make it back to our seats in time for the incredible, incredible finish of that game, where the Diamondbacks rallied in the bottom of the 9th to win the game on a base hit off of Mariano Rivera, the greatest closer of all time. Here's what it sounded like.
Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
We'll never, ever, ever forget that night. I was incredibly happy. Al, as a Yankees fan, less so. About 3 weeks later, Al died. And I was really, really bitter about that for a long time. 1, to lose my best friend, but 2, just kind of how that memory, that Game 7, was kind of ruined by that whole experience. But with the passage of time, I'm not bitter anymore. Because what I now understand is that that security official was just doing what he was trained to do, which is doing what he was told to do. Didn't understand the backstory, didn't understand the extenuating circumstances. He only knew what he could see. And the same thing is true of your customers. They're not out to get you. They just want their pizza on time. 80% of companies say that they deliver exceptional customer service. 8% of their customers agree. You can be the greatest organization in the world, in whatever industry you're in, by following these principles. You can be different. You can out-hug your competition because your competitors can steal everything from you, can't they? They can steal your products, they can steal your services, they can steal your pricing, they can steal your playbook, they can steal your website copy. They can steal everything about you, but the one thing they can't take from you, the one thing that is yours and yours alone, is how much you care about your customers. And if you truly care more, if you are willing to out-hug your competition, that is a business differentiator that you can take to the bank. So let's practice. Everybody up and then stay standing. Everybody, it's time to hug. You can hug the person you talked to, or if you didn't like that interaction, pick somebody else. All right. You can be. This is what it takes. You can be the best at this. You can be the best at this. This is what it takes. Customer service is not easy. Customer service is not easy, and it's getting much, much, much harder. There's way more customer interactions. Their expectations are different. They need us to be faster. But you can be the greatest in the world at this. We can do it together. What it requires is for you to answer every complaint in every channel every time, instead of some complaints some of the time in some channels. Now, look, I realize that you're unlikely to go back to your office on Monday and say, we've got to totally revamp everything we're doing to answer every complaint starting tomorrow. I would love for that to happen, but I realize that it is a journey. So even if you're not ready to answer every complaint in every channel every time, I certainly hope that together we can answer more and more and more of our customers. I want you to embrace complaints and keep your customers. I'm Jay Baer, and I'm here to tell you to hug your haters. Thanks.